everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Tina Williams and I do watercolor art. Today I am doing actually a commissioned piece for a customer, so I thought I would take you along on the journey. This is a pet portrait, and I don't know what kind of dog this is. I'll post a picture here in a few minutes, but I think it's Pomeranian. I don't know, but anyways, I do a lot of speeding through the video on this one because it took a couple of hours and a lot of it's just tedious. I do the fur like pretty individually, brush stroke type of thing. I know that was not English, but that's what I do. I do, just as you can see here, I do strokes. Okay. I started off with a base light cream color just to give it a base. And did that kind of all over. So the hardest color for me to do in a dog is orange. And I don't think they call it orange, but it's orange, like the orangey dogs. And it's just, I don't know what it is. Like, it's just such a hard color for me to mix, and it takes so much mixing for me. I mean, you could look at my palette there to the right. It took over my palette just to get the right orange. And so I started with a light base color just because I knew myself. I knew I needed to just build up those colors, and so I did. Actually, towards the end of the video, I even walk away and come back to the picture, the painting, and I'm like, you know what, it still needs a little bit more. So I added another orange wash to it, even way after this was done. So, and I did that because this is for a customer, so I didn't want to just leave it without it being exactly right. So I do struggle with the oranges when it comes to animals, and so it does take me a little bit, and because I'm not comfortable with that color, I layer. And I suggest that for anybody who's just not feeling like they're going to nail it right off the bat. And this is a great way to just ease into it. You're not jumping into the deep end. You are just easing into the colors. So the brush I use is the Princeton round snap brush. I like it because it's kind of the shape that I need. It kind of has that, like the fur, the strokes with the paint and the fur and stuff. And I do individual strokes. I know a lot of people don't do this. They kind of just do an overall color, but I just don't know how you can get this into photorealism without doing that. So I do the individual strokes, and I've actually fast forwarded this whole thing. I'm not painting as fast as it looks like I am. And so as you can see, I just literally just go little by little, and I go in the direction of the fur to match it. So even if it's something that's going to blend in together and you're not going to see it, I just feel comfortable doing it in the same brush stroke direction as the fur. I just feel like it makes more sense. So just to show you guys a little bit of so there's darkness around her eyebrows. I'm assuming it's a girl. I don't know why. I think maybe the customer told me at one point this was a girl, so it's stuck in my head. Who knows? But anyways, I just want to show you the picture of the color that I'm actually going to look to end up with. And as you can see, it was a pretty orangey colored dog. And I don't quite get that right off the bat. But that's okay. I will. In the end, it ends up being the right color. And because I started off with a very light wash, which means very thinned out paint opacity, I was able to keep layering it on without it getting muddy. So when the color wasn't right, I was able to keep adding to it. And as you can see, it's getting a little bit more and more orange until I get it to the right consistency. You don't want to go too orange right off the bat because you can't lift it. So this way I'm able to go in reverse. Now, it has some dark spots. A lot of it could be the fur color. It could be just the shadowing. I think in this puppy's case, it was a little bit of both. So I'm adding those in on top of it, and it's really kind of cool because when you do these layers, then the lighter colors come through naturally, so you don't have to add the light highlights afterwards. And it does really kind of add that layer. And I'm still really struggling with allergies. I'm actually starting to question whether it's allergies or a cold. I feel like it's allergies because it's worse in the mornings and then it gets better. And I can't take Benadryl because I'm still nursing my daughter, and I'm so wishing I could take some Benadryl. But aside from my nose tickling like crazy, I feel fine. So that's why I feel like it's allergies. So, hey, a little puffy. This dog is puffy. It's a puffy dog. I think a lot of it is the haircut, but it's so like floofy. I just want to kind of, I want to pet it. I want to pet all the dogs, but I just feel like this dog deserves extra pets because of how floofy it is. In fact, I have a sticker on the back of my car, and I'm not a sticker person. Like for years, I mean, I've forever, however long I've owned cars for, which has been since I was 16. I've always been anti-sticker, except for I had a Mustang and I had a sticker on the back window, and it said, "Badass toys aren't just for badass boys." So aside from that, I've never put stickers on my car. I just don't like it. But I put a sticker on this one because it's an SUV, and I just feel like it needed a sticker. It has personality. My son gave it a name. He calls it by the name all the time. My car's name is Carl. I don't know why. I think he just said Carl. It was very creative. And the sticker says, "Tell your dog I said hi." So I'm very much a dog person. I like dogs more than people. That's the truth. So I'm just doing a close-up right now. I did add drawing gum, which is by a company named Pebeo. Don't know if that is the right way to pronounce it. Pebeo. And that's that blue stuff that you're seeing on the eyes and the nose. So basically, when you put that down, and I use a glass pen to apply that, nothing will seep through that. So you do it to protect the paper from paint. So as you can see, I'm putting it in the areas where there would be like a sparkle in the eye, some glistening in the eyes, some shine on the nose. That's where I put the blue. And you can see parts of it, but sometimes the paint will sit on top of the drawing gum, but when you lift up the drawing gum, the paint's gone. So even like in this case, like the nose, I definitely have drawing gum there, and you can't really tell because you can't see that blue anymore. The paint's on top of it. When I lift it, it'll come up, which is kind of a nice way to add to paint over some highlights without having to like paint around it. So now I'm removing that drawing gum, and I'm doing that with tweezers. A little trick with doing this, some people there's a special eraser you can use to erase it, to lift the gum. I had no idea until like yesterday. What I usually do is I just pull off the first piece, which takes a minute with tweezers, and then I use that piece kind of as the gum and stick it, and it pulls up the rest of it. I don't know if that made any sense, but if it didn't make any sense, let me know and I will certainly explain it more in the comments. My voice is cracking a little bit. So now I'm going back over. Now you can see where it's like white on the eyes. That's where the drawing gum was. You can see a little bit of white on the nose. I don't want it to be that white, so I'm adding a little bit of lighter grays and blues and stuff because I don't want it to be that stark. And then I'm going to be adding more shadows around the nose because the dog's face is not flat. A little tip to avoid, which I did in this painting, and I end up doing quite a bit to try to fix it, is you can certainly add white to lighten a color, but I don't really recommend it. If you do, don't use too much because it makes it muddy. And if you look at the top of this puppy's fur, at the top of the head, you can see a little bit of that what is it? It's like a, it has kind of a grayish tone to it. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's because I use white to lighten my paint, and I use too much, and it's something I know better not to do, and I still did it. And fortunately, I didn't do too much, so when in the end, I am able to put a wash over it to cover it mostly up. But if you want to lighten a color, use water. Don't use white, because you'll end up with that muddiness, and that's just something you want to avoid. White is something in acrylic you use to lighten colors, and it doesn't do that. You cannot do that in watercolor. It does not have the same effect. So that would be your tip of the day. So now I'm just adding some more shadows around the eyes. The original picture has quite a lot of shadowing. The picture looks like it was taken with I don't want to say it was in a dark room, because it doesn't look like it was, but it's got this shade over its face. So I think it was more maybe just maybe had harsh lighting on one side, which can cause that. So I didn't want to duplicate that I didn't want to duplicate that exactly, because then I don't know. This is one of those things where you don't want to duplicate certain things from a photograph, because it looks nicer when you don't. So I don't want that contrast in the painting, because it's not a natural shadowing. Like around the eyes, it has darker fur. That one's more natural. So I didn't want to do that so much with the painting. Kind of like when somebody sends me a picture of their dog, and their dog is a little bit older, and they have a little bit of that fogginess in their eyes. I usually remove that. I let them know first, because obviously I'm not gonna change their, who knows, maybe they had that dog and they want to remember them at that age, or exactly how they are, or they want to remember their dog kind of glistening eyes and how they were when they were a little bit younger. For me, I prefer the non-fogginess, because that's just a personal preference, and I think most people do as well. So I'll let my customer know, like, hey, are you okay with me removing the fogginess and making the eyes bright again? And I've yet to have somebody say no to that. They're usually really happy that I bring it up. So that's another thing. Like the shadowing, bring it up. Do you want me to keep the same coloring, or do you want me to brighten it up a little bit? And every single one of them so far have said no. They want it to be brightened up. They don't want the shadow to be so harsh on their pet. So that's what I do. But it's different. I think, like, when you see these puppies, I call all dogs puppies, when they have the graying face when they get older, the senior dogs, it's such an endearing look. It's my one dog. She's starting to go gray in her face, and it makes me sad. It makes me so sad, because I just know that she's aging, and I want my dog to live forever. But at the same time, there's such a sweetness to it. It's just bittersweet. It's bittersweet because, she still has energy like she did when she was younger, pretty much. She's definitely sleeping more, I think, than she used to when she was a puppy, which makes sense, right? But that gray face, it's endearing, and it's sweet. And, dogs don't live as long as we ever want them to. I'm going to start getting emotional if I keep this up. But anyways, if a person sends me a picture of their dog and they've got the graying face, that I keep, and I don't really get people asking me to remove it. The eyes, the foggy eyes, I do, because we want bright eyes, because that's their personality, even if they have cataracts or if they have the fogginess that they get when they get older. So things like that. So that's something that I like to do. Oh, I should not have my Facebook up, but I do, and somebody is messaging me. Stop messaging me. You're showing up in my video. So I'm adding a little bit more of an orange to the legs, and then I'm going to... This dog has white... I can't really tell where this white is. I don't know if it's a whole body, but there's certainly like a white mane happening in the picture. And this is one of my favorite tips. Somebody gave me this tip when I first started painting and it's a great tip, and I'm going to pass it on to you. Paint what you see, not what you know. And what does that mean? It means, obviously, things like, okay, let's look at this dog. We know the dog has 4 legs. I mean, we're pretty sure the dog has 4 legs, right? Don't paint 4 legs. Paint the 3 legs that you see. Same thing with the mane. I know that this dog, I can't tell if the whole body is white or what, but there's a white fur around the face. I'm going to paint it exactly how I see it, because that's exactly what's there. And it's the same thing with a lot of people with teeth. Teeth is a great example. We know we have individual teeth, but sometimes when you're smiling or in a painting, you don't see them as individual teeth. You might see a little bit of the gap, that graying gap. It's graying gap. Sounds really bad when you're talking about teeth. But you can see maybe a little bit at the top or a little bit at the bottom, and it's not perfectly, there's not a perfect gray line in between each, or black line in between each tooth to make it separate. In fact, when you paint it that way, it looks weird. It looks like they have gaps in their teeth, and they usually have a strange smile. And I see people do that all the time. And they're like, why does the smile look so weird? I'm like, because you painted what you know and not what you saw. You did not see a perfect line in between each tooth on that picture, but you painted it. So that's one of the things I like to share. So I guess those are my 2 tips to bring to you is paint what you see, not what you know. And the other one was to not mix white with your watercolors. So those are my takeaways for today's painting. I'm adding shadow around. I wasn't sure if I was going to add shadow to this puppy. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I felt like this one really needed it because of the angle it is at. And I was really happy that I did that in the end because, as you can see, once I added the shadow, it really made her seem like she was sitting down looking up at you. Up until then, you didn't really, I mean, you got that effect a little bit from the perspective, but I think adding the shadow to it really brought that to the forefront. So hopefully watching this has helped. I know a lot of people have mentioned that they struggle with pet portraits, so hopefully watching this one helped a little bit. As you can see, she's like I said, she's peachy orange right now. I did end up adding one more orange wash to it after I was completely done, and it got it exactly where I wanted it to be. She looks a little bit like a fox, but I think that's kind of the dog's look. And I was really happy with the way this came out. Hopefully my customer will be too. Did you know that in order to help my algorithms on YouTube, not only is it help to like the video, of course, I think we all know that, but it helps to also leave a comment. So please leave a comment and let me know, do you have a puppy yourself too? Cats? Have you tried pet portraits? Let me know. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if there's any special videos you would like me to do.